Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
11 and 12. I know you're going to get Mafia excited here. Hot and bothered.
You got to put Aaron Rodgers here and the Jets at 11. I would put him higher, but again, he barely played football last season. They've addressed their offensive line. It's not going to be great. The depth at wide receiver is a problem for me. Defense, perhaps the best in the National Football League. If Rodgers plays 14 games, they're probably going to win that division over the Bills.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3 on this Monday to start off a new week, but it is our third and final. But we don't go without a bang. What a third hour we have in store. Plenty of Major League Baseball breakdowns on this Monday coming your way. And, of course, we have a Game 7 tonight in the Stanley Cup Final. In Sunrise, it's the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Stanley Cup will be given out on this Monday evening, and if I may, a decisive winner-take-all game in downtown Omaha, Nebraska, in the Men's College World Series Finals between the Tennessee Volunteers and the Texas A&M Aggies. It is the summer, DRS, but we're still having fun here on the SportsGrid Network.
No, we are. And the shame of it is, too, because you wait the entire season to get to the finals, and you hope that it's going to be an exciting finals, which the NHL certainly has provided now. And the same thing with college in the College World Series. But having said that, after today, both of those sports will be done for the summer, and it's almost like we're on to the next great thing as we wait for the NFL and we watch Major League Baseball. So I'm excited for tonight to see it play out, because anytime a championship, man, is in the building, you got to watch it at least a little bit, because the fun of it, even if it isn't your team, is the excitement of seeing who win it, how the kids celebrate, and also, more importantly, how it was won. Because as Joe Madden was pointing out, if we do get to overtime in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup, that will be absolutely incredible theater. When is the last time, by the way, because I don't know, maybe Joe Frieza can bring it up. It's the last time we had a Game 7 overtime in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
That we will have to look up, because we are going to see history in some form or fashion at a certain point tonight. If the Oilers can come back from the 0-3 deficit in the Stanley Cup Final, it will be the first time in a Stanley Cup Final, the 5th time in Stanley Cup postseason action, that we see a team overcome that 0-3 series hole since 1942. And the Maple Leafs knocked off the Red Wings in 7 games in the Stanley Cup Final. That's what is on the line for Edmonton, their 6th ever Stanley Cup in franchise history, hoping for their first since 1990. The Florida Panthers have only been around for 30 years. This is their 3rd Stanley Cup Final, their 2nd consecutive appearance in the Stanley Cup Final, hoping to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup for the first time in franchise history. And one added wrinkle, the last Canadian team to win Lord Stanley's Cup, the Montreal Canadiens, back in 1993, more than 3 decades ago. I mean, so much comes to a head tonight in Sunrise. We are excited for it. But after the NHL season comes to a close, and after we see the College World Series come to an end tonight as well, what are you most excited for the rest of the summer? That was the question for all of you in Fade the Public. And listen, our producer, Joe Frizo, is absolute dynamite. We love to give him a hard time here, but there is none better. And as a stat guy, he can fire off and figure things out as quickly as possible. Donnie asked, last Game 7 overtime in the Stanley Cup Final, Joe Frizo delivers not more than 45 seconds later. 1954 DRS. The last time we saw a 7th game in the Stanley Cup Final go to overtime. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but we asked you at SportsGrid, which non-Big Four sport do you enjoy watching most in the summer? Is it auto racing? Is it golf? Is it tennis in the Grand Slam season? Is it soccer? A lot of soccer right now, the European Championships, the Euros. We'll talk about those in just a moment. And Team USA got underway at Copa America last night with a 2-0 victory over Bolivia. So DRS, we asked the public, more than half the public going with golf. 50.6% at this moment saying they love the golf during the summertime.
Yes, and that's probably the appropriate response because at least we have some majors, because the other ones, look, auto racing, I just like how it's a faction there, as if it would be like open wheel, I guess, or NASCAR. To be honest with you, I don't know if I've tuned into a NASCAR race in 15 years at this point. Like, do they still even race? Like, I never hear anything, who wins what, or even those events, I should say, on TV. You get the tennis. Tennis is never going to make it onto my TV. And quite frankly, next week when the 4th of July comes up, the boys and the crew get a couple days off here, and we don't have to cover tennis, which is fantastic. So I didn't vote for that either. Soccer last night. Yeah, it's great. Pulisic scored last night. But outside of that, I watched probably 10 to 15 minutes. I was bored out of my mind watching that soccer yesterday. So for me, it is golf. And having said that, I didn't watch a single shot of Scottie Scheffler's weekend tournament this weekend. So I voted golf because we do have one major left. But outside of that, those are some slim pickings. And by the way, it's the summer. I always look, I'm a big sprinkler guy, like my grass. I'd rather watch grass grow than any one of these 4 selections right now. And that probably would have won the vote if there was 5 votes here or 5 spots to pick and you put growing grass. Growing grass would have won by far.
We actually got more involvement, I should say, or participation in this Fade the Public poll than even I estimated. And, of course, we do not include Major League Baseball. The 4 major men's professional sports league in North America, known as the NFL, NBA, MLB, and the NHL. The WNBA also not included in this as of right now, but the W is rising high. A historic opening month of this WNBA season in 2024 that will only carry over. That would have got my vote if it was included in this poll. It was not. Of course, our producer, Joe Frizo, getting a ton of shout-outs on this Monday. He's a tennis guy. Loves tennis. Grand Slam tennis returns to our lives in just a few weeks. Exactly 1 week from today. Wimbledon underway at the All England Club in London. The finest and most trim grass you will ever see. Golf has been great this year. Scottie Scheffler has been dominant yesterday through the protests, through a playoff over his friend Tom Kim at 22 under, and then, of course, winning that first playoff hole. He wins the Travelers Championship, a signature event on the PGA Tour. He has dominated those. He has dominated everything. 6 victories in his last 10 tournaments. That already matches the most wins, 6, we have seen in a PGA Tour season since Tiger Woods in 2009. And, oh, by the way, it is the most victories on the PGA Tour, 6, prior to July beginning since the King did so. That's Arnold Palmer back in 1962. Scottie Scheffler on a historic pace already and will continue out the rest of the summer.
Yeah, and the funny part about it is it looks like each one of these tournaments that he's been winning lately, his child is there with him. I mean, come on, man. This kid's going to be like, Dad, I'm used to winning every single week. Once you lose, I mean, what's the deal at this point? So certainly maybe a good luck charm. But having said, bringing up tennis here, who plays tennis on grass, man? I mean, can we get around that? Like, what are we doing here? Just hard court. No, we don't play on clay. I mean, what is that about? You just play on the hard court. So you go down the Rod Laver down in Australia. You go back up here to Arthur Ashe. Like, that's the true tradition of tennis. Not playing on, I mean, come on, grass? Stop. Plays on grass.
They do at the All England Club. It's a historic Grand Slam. Here's history for you all. Some trivia question. When was the first Wimbledon championship?
1898. I don't know. When was it?
Oh, close. 1877. Whoa. Why do I ask that? Because yesterday on a long car ride back from Maine, I saw that as we were playing trivia throughout my time. Bad traffic in Connecticut yesterday, DRS. Almost did me trivia? In. Wasn't sure I was going to make the show. What?
Who was playing trivia? And who was in this car?
Me and my friends. It was myself, my girlfriend, my other friend Luke, and Mike. There's 4 people.
You know what? I got questions. We got questions. We got a long way to go in this next hour here. We might have to bump some segments here to understand what was going on in that car ride. By the way, how long was the car ride?
So it was from New York City to Deer Isle, Maine. On the way out there, just over 8 hours. We were cruising early on Friday. That's why I wasn't here. On the way back, over 11 hours in the car. Again, bad traffic near Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and in Connecticut. It was tough. Any more questions I'll answer later on. Soccer time next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image for the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Don't let Donnie play the downer. We carry over some enthusiasm in these summer months for a lot of soccer right now on the pitch. A couple of national championships, international championships, if you will. Copa America now underway, and of course the Euros, as they have been playing out the last few weeks over in Germany. So to get us up to speed and maybe build Donnie's excitement for what we are seeing on the pitch, we welcome on Anthony Dabbundo, now working with The Ringer and Spotify, articles, podcasts, doing it all for The Ringer and Spotify as well. Anthony Dabbundo, we say congratulations on the new job. The last time that you were here, you were not at this new place, so congrats on the new gig, and we appreciate your time on this Monday morning to start off this new week.
Well, I now have a goal in this segment, which is to convince Donnie to tune in for some soccer this summer. I think it's going to be difficult. I think that he's got a strong resolve, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Listen, opportunity equals greatness. And when you take advantage of opportunity, that can only be seen as a strong thing, as the Americans did last night in their Copa America opener. Christian Pulisic found the back of the net 3 minutes into the game. The U.S. wins 2-0 over Bolivia. Anthony, how impressed were you by Team USA in their Copa America opener?
Yeah, so I would say it's kind of depends on what you think of them going in, because we're not going to learn a ton about the United States in the first two matches. They play Bolivia, who's one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the field. They're going to play Panama on Thursday. The U.S. is going to be judged on how they do in their match against Uruguay next week in the group finale, and how they do in a potential quarterfinal against Colombia or Brazil. Those are the matches that we're going to use to evaluate the United States. So you don't want to get too carried away, but look, the U.S. came in. Gio Reyna has not played much for his club. Tyler Adams is coming back from injury. Guys who have not had great moments at their club played pretty well last night, and I think that's encouraging. And, of course, Pulisic, because this golden generation of U.S. talent is the most talented and deep U.S. team we've ever had. That's true. But they haven't had the development of stars to take them to that next level, except for Pulisic. Pulisic gets his 30th goal in 69 career appearances. He's still only 25, and he's on pace to be the greatest U.S. goal scorer of all time. So Pulisic looking as good as he did last night, not just the goal, but taking on defenders, winning 1v1s, creating chances for others, getting the assist on the second goal, just all really encouraging, because if the U.S. wants to go deep here, they need Pulisic to carry them. And so far, he's looked really good in their 3 matches, including the pre-tournament friendlies.
Anthony, let me ask you this question, too, because when we watch Team USA, so many times, of course, it's about the players on the pitch, but so many more questions pop up, again, with Greg Berhalter. How are we looking at his approach to this tournament? And also, it always seems like it's a referendum. Win or lose, he's always going to be in the spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, there's the problem with international soccer is there's not a lot of matches. They play, so few high-profile matches against big teams that everything becomes kind of a pressurized chamber of insanity. Every time they have a win, it's they didn't win by enough. Or if they lose, it's they stink. And, Berhalter, I don't think there's clear evidence that he is adding a ton, but I also think his detractors are a little bit over-exaggerating what he means. The goal of the U.S. Soccer Federation is to continue to improve the depth of the team and to make us competitive. And if you look at it on the bench yesterday for the U.S., they bring in Johnny Cardoso, who now starts at the top league in Spain. They bring on, Luca de la Torre, who starts at the top league in Spain. The talent development behind the scenes, whether you give Berhalter credit for that or not, I think he deserves some of it, because they are getting, at the lower levels of the federation, their stated goal, which was we want to have our best players playing at the top 5 leagues in Europe. All 11 starters last night fit that criteria. 4 guys they brought off the bench fit that criteria. So you're seeing this talent come through. I think there are real questions tactically when you watch the U.S. play, if they are putting the pieces together correctly and if they're truly maximizing their talent. I think that's a big question. Also, the way they landed back on hiring Berhalter is a question mark, but I just don't know if you can blame him for losing to Brazil or Colombia, because they're better teams and more talented.
And 2 of those teams you mentioned, 2 of the 4 best prices to win Copa America. Team USA, 6th best number at 14-1. So, Anthony, a 2-part question. We start with the U.S. What is America's ceiling here in the 2024 Copa America? And then between the 2 favorite sides that you see, Argentina and Brazil, which one do you favor?
So I'll start with the second question. I definitely favor Argentina just because of the path. Brazil has some real questions about this new generation coming up. Neymar not being at the tournament. He's been, the best player on Brazil for the last decade. Him not being there kind of leaves a hole in kind of their talent in terms of knitting it all together. So I think that's a question. Argentina's on the half of the bracket with Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela. That is a much weaker half. Whereas you look at Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia, and the United States are almost certainly going to be on the same half of the bracket, all 4 teams. So it gets very difficult for me to say, hey, Brazil at plus 220 is value, or Uruguay even, who looked good last night, at plus 550. If you wanted to take a team from that pot, I think it's actually Colombia at 12-1, just because Colombia could win the group and get the United States in the quarterfinal, and then avoid, the toughest matchup there. And Argentina, they're minus 170 to make the final. I think they're the best team in the tournament. So, Argentina and Colombia are the 2 teams I would look to potentially win this. Brazil, just too many questions about them. And Uruguay, love the way they're playing, but the price for them to have to beat Brazil and Colombia and Argentina at plus 550 is just not very good. The U.S. ceiling is that probably they pull an upset, make the semis. That would be a good tournament. Most likely they lose in the quarters.
Let's see the boys pull the upset here for Team USA. But how about in the Euros here? I'm going to ask you this one question. 2 favorites, England and France. And the question I want to know is it coming home to the boys for the English here?
Wow. Probably not. This field is fascinating. The odds have not moved in the last 2 weeks, basically since this tournament started. England and France opened as the favorites. I would say both have dramatically underperformed expectations. France has only scored 1 goal in 2 matches. They're going to advance, and England is going to advance. But England has looked really shaky. They have all this talent thrown onto the pitch, but they're not meshing really well. Germany looked impressive their first match. The most impressive team has probably been Spain, but now Spain is on a quarterfinal collision course. Spain and Germany likely to meet in the quarterfinals. That will be my match of the tournament. I still think the Dutch are value at 15, 16-1. I think they're flying under the radar.
Now the final question. Is Donnie Rightside excited for some soccer?
Love
By the way,
I'm
Anthony,
in. I'm
we
all
appreciate the
all
time. More on the early line up next. Get your goal.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image for the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So we started, or actually ended, our second hour with some potential coaching rumors around the association to fill the 2 final vacancies that we have in Detroit after the shocking firing of Monty Williams, and in Cleveland after the dismissal of J.B. Bickerstaff when the Cavs were eliminated from postseason contention in round 2. Well, Cleveland has hired its next head coach. Warriors assistant coach, former head coach of the Brooklyn Nets for 4 seasons, Kenny Atkinson, the next head man of the Cavaliers organization. That brought to us by Shams Charania of FanDuel TV. Our guy, Shams Charania, the best NBA insider out there. DRS, Kenny Atkinson, the new head coach in Cleveland. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this because, when that coach on, we didn't know when this was actually going to take place, talking about the 2 coaching vacancies in the NBA. And I was going to ask the question, does this mean that, Spider Mitchell is going to have a certain imprint on this organization if he wants to stay and okays that head coach? I'm pretty sure they reached out to Donovan Mitchell and said, you know what? Kenny's one of the guys that we're looking at. What do you think? And probably gave his blessing. So if we do think Spider Mitchell's coming back to Cleveland, he probably had a hand in giving the okay that Kenny Atkinson is going to be here. By the way, this is a guy that's been coming up in a lot of jobs here. So it's one of those that he's probably well liked across the NBA from upper management and also from the players themselves. So I think it could be a good fit here. And also if it brings back Donovan Mitchell where he's happy with that, that's a good sign for Cleveland.
Right. And we did bring that report earlier also from Shams that Cleveland was feeling rather confident they would get a deal done quickly with their head coach. Kenny Atkinson is that man, and it would mean that Spider returns to the land. 4 years for Kenny Atkinson in Brooklyn with a Nets team that did not have Kevin Durant but did have Kyrie Irving for the final few years under Atkinson. He got fired at the end of the 2020 NBA season, if you consider it such, before the guys went to the bubble later that summer. Jacques Vaughn was the head coach for the Brooklyn Nets within the bubble. Only one winning season in those 4 years in BK. That was 2018-19, 2 games above 500, 42-40, a playoff appearance where they lost in the opening round in only 5 games. So not overly successful, Kenny Atkinson as a head coach, but the past 3 seasons in Golden State seem to be Steve Kerr's right-hand guy, great at developing. Can he rise this Cleveland team to a different area of expectation? Because the Cavs, DRS, one thing that's kind of forgotten, looking back at this NBA season, co-favorites to start off the year to win the NBA championship and in the East, the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Celtics carried that banner as the favorite all throughout the season. Before the year got underway, the Cavaliers had the 3rd best price to win the Eastern Conference. That was their level, not just a playoff team and get bounced by the end of the second round, but truly being on the outside of being that title contender in the Eastern Conference. You have to assume that expectation remains entering next year.
No, absolutely. And I think if everybody was looking, that was a very disappointing end of the season for Cleveland. Now, granted, they were banged up once they got to the playoffs, which it seems like everybody in the Eastern Conference was outside of the Boston Celtics, who, again, didn't escape their own injury problems with Kristaps Porzingis. But I thought there was one, if the Sixers were going to falter with injuries and the Milwaukee Bucks were going to falter, you really expected Cleveland probably to be one of the last teams standing when it was all said and done. Now, granted, again, they got injured. They weren't that good all the way through. But with the expectations coming into last year should have been much, much better than what the, ending results were. And I expect the same thing. If Donovan Mitchell comes back, that's still a quality team. And maybe Kenny Atkinson can push them into maybe a top 2, top 3 seed in the East here. We'll find out.
Yep, the Cleveland Cavaliers have a new head coach. They have hired Kenny Atkinson to take the reins in the land. Now we go over to Major League Baseball, where the best team in the American League, at least with the best record at this moment, resides as well. The Guardians have won 5 straight games. Cleveland, 49 in 26. That is the best winning percentage in the American League, second best in all of MLB. Now, they've played less games than both the Yankees and the Orioles, but the hottest team in baseball. One of the first games of the day on this Monday in Baltimore against the O's. Baltimore, a home favorite. Cade Povich on the mound, minus 120, that money line number.
Yeah, Povich hasn't done a lot of work this year in Major League Baseball, and particularly being at home, which he will be today. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with Camden Yards. But having said that, he's a left-handed pitcher. His numbers are decent on the splits. Only 69 batters he's faced on the season, an 0.69 ISO, and a weighted on base percentage, 265, which is really good. Now, here's what it's going to come down to. You know, I've told you how much I really like that Cleveland lineup. But tonight, against left-handed pitching, it doesn't really present itself all that well. Only two players at a 190 to 192 ISO power number. Everybody else is below that. So maybe we're taking a look at Povich can get away with a decent start today, and the Orioles can come away with a victory after not being able to find one for the past couple games.
The O's swept this weekend in Arlington against the Rangers, hoping for better back in Baltimore. The prop perspective on this Monday up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR distance zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. You know, we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It is Game 7 tonight in Sunrise. It is part of the prop perspective to start off this new week on a Monday. And the jack of all trades is here for it all. From FanDuel, Tom Vecchio joins us on this Monday, as he often does, to start off a new week. We've got some hockey talk. We've got some Major League Baseball breakdowns and plays for the Daily Diamond Dash on this Monday as well. That is why, Tom Vecchio, you are the jack of all trades, and we appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me. Tonight is one of the most important games in the history of the NHL. We have a team and the Panthers looking to get their first Stanley Cup as a franchise. They're also trying to prevent the Oilers from coming back 3-0. That hasn't been done in 82 years. And the Oilers are trying to bring home the first Stanley Cup to Canada in 31 years. This is going to be an awesome game tonight.
It is all part of the history that is on the line. Can the Oilers overcome an 0-3 deficit, be the first team since the 1942 Toronto Maple Leafs to come back from down 3 games in a Stanley Cup final? This is how we have reached this point. Florida dominant in the first 2 games in Sunrise, not too shabby in game number 3 in Edmonton. From that point, all Oilers 8-1 in game 4, carried it over to game 5, and in game number 6 inside Rogers Place, a 5-1 dominant victory as well. Vecchio, how did this series change, and what has the biggest difference been?
Well, in the first three games, and part of my fear is someone who backed the Panthers heavily this series, Panthers minus 1.5, Panthers to win the series 4-2, Panthers money line. Those are all up in the air. At least two of them are dead at this point. My biggest fear was you can only keep McDavid contained for so long. He's like Patrick Mahomes. He's like Shohei Ohtani. A couple down games from him. But eventually, the switch is going to flip, and he's going to have an outburst of scoring. That's what we've seen. That's why he's putting up all these points. And, Sasha Barkov, the top-line center for the Panthers, he got hit up high in that game, left early. Maybe he's not operating at 100%, and that has just decreased their defensive efficiency just in the slightest bit. And that's the only edge McDavid needs, and that's the breakout of scoring that we've seen from him. So, it's been a tough road for the Panthers as of late. If I didn't have any stake in this series, I would certainly be backing the Oilers tonight.
If we are taking a look at that game tonight down in Sunrise, we look at the game opened up as a Florida favorite at a minus 120 price, which wasn't a lot. Now we have basically a de facto pick'em between these two teams and a total of 5.5. If we're obviously looking at a side, we know that you have Florida and you've backed them here. If we are looking at a total, which quite frankly has been high scoring the past couple games, it's a game 7. Things are always a little bit more constricted at that point. But do we expect scoring that we've seen over the past couple games here tonight, Tom?
I think we ultimately might fall in the middle. And, I just spoke on a podcast with Jim Sonis about this. If you can find a 6 out there at minus 160, minus 170, I think that's fine because we're not going to see 7, 8 total goals. But I also don't think we're going to see 1 or 2. So a game being 3-2 and then maybe an empty netter pushing it to 4-2 final, that's where I could realistically see this going. So finding a 6 number under 6 and minus 170, I think that could be okay tonight.
All 3 Edmonton wins, the total has gone over. Since game number 3, we have seen 4 consecutive overs. In games 1 and 2, unders. It's when Florida was most dominant, and it's when Sergei Bobrovsky was playing his best hockey between the pipes. But as of late, it's been the goaltender advantage for the Oilers and Stuart Skinner. How do you match up the two goalies in this decisive Game 7 with a cup on the line tonight?
Well, that's going to Stuart Skinner, under 26.5 saves. And this is not to say that I don't think he's going to play well. The Oilers defense, who I have been highly questionable of throughout the entire season, they have turned things around in the biggest way possible. And that is all credit to their coach, Chris Knoblauch, who has done a fantastic job since he took over. They've done such a good job at limiting the shot attempts from the Panthers. So this is not to say that Skinner's not going to play well. He's maybe not going to have to have a big workload tonight because everyone in front of him is selling out to block every single shot. So under 26.5 saves for Skinner because the defense in front of him, the forwards, going to be blocking everything, selling out their bodies to block every single shot attempt from the Panthers. They've looked great on defense over these last 3 games.
If we are looking at the Florida Panthers as that slight favorite at minus 113, that total listed at 5.5, that means we're expecting multiple goals tonight, which is always a fun market here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Anytime goal scorer, Hyman, McDavid, Reinhart, Draisaitl, Verhaeghe, Kachuk lead that board here. But for you, are you looking down that board, or is it just so simple to take the top guys?
Now, all those numbers are great, especially, we never get those prices for McDavid or Draisaitl, but I actually want to go a little bit further down. Evan Bouchard goal at plus 500, and, we got to understand what the odds are at plus 500. The probability of outcome is a little bit lower, but he's been great this series, and when we look to some of the advanced numbers, he has 195 shot attempts created when he's on the ice, not necessarily just him, but when he's on the ice to only 110 allowed, and that is equated to 91 shots created when he is on the ice. Shots on goal, that is most of any player in the series. He's on the first power play. I do not think we're going to see forwards with high volumes of shots, which means the defenders are going to be taking any shot attempt they can from the blue line just to simply get anything at the net. So looking to defenders for goals and your point prop tonight would be the spot to go. Bouchard gets his first goal of the series, plus 500 tonight.
A 5-1 number for Evan Bouchard, who has been great for the Oilers in this playoff run. Zach Hyman has found his footing here in this series, scoring in back-to-back games, games 5 and 6. Game 6, the first time since game 1, when not a single point was recorded by Edmonton as a team, that Connor McDavid did not find the scorer's sheet. So as we look right now, Tom Vecchio, at Connor McDavid, the chosen one, if you will, after the chosen one in Edmonton at minus 3,500. Here's how I'm going to say this. Is he going to win the Conn Smythe tonight, regardless of the outcome of the game?
Yeah, this is a conversation I had with Kevin last week where he should realistically win this because it's not just about a Stanley Cup MVP. This is actually an award for the entire playoffs. And we can make the argument, even potentially in a losing effort tonight, that he is the most valuable player in the playoffs. The only outcome would be Sergei Bobrovsky's shutout tonight if any other player would win. Yeah. But I do not think that's going to happen. So I think pushing forward a conversation about a player in a losing effort still being the quote-unquote MVP is something that the sports world and the sports betting world needs to have. He can be the most valuable even in a losing effort because they wouldn't be here without him.
That's interesting. Look, I'm excited, man. Game 7, we talked with Joe a little bit earlier today, hoping to get that overtime feel for it, so it should be fun to watch it wrap up. But before that, Tom, let's get to some Major League Baseball. Let's have some fun here. 8-10 tonight in the Windy City tonight. That is going to be the Dodgers and the White Sox. Battle two lefties here, Paxton versus Crochet. Overnight lines at the FanDuel Sportsbook here in New Jersey, 146 price here on the Dodgers. That's dropped to minus 136 as a favorite, and a total of 8 across the board. Paxton, as we know, high XFIP numbers. I've liked what I saw to Crochet this year. Is there a chance for an upset, or is it just the Dodgers? Come on now. Bad team in the White Sox.
Yeah, it's probably the latter there. It's just a bad team in the White Sox. I specifically like under 8. I am not a believer in Paxton. He walks too many hitters. He doesn't strike out enough. But ultimately, the White Sox offense is absolutely anemic, and they're not scoring. And Crochet is awesome on the other side. So, yeah, the Dodgers are a super tough matchup, but he can certainly rack up the strikeouts. And this game ending like 4-1 just because Crochet does a good job, and then the White Sox bullpen blows it. And maybe the Sox get a run or two on the board. It's not an interesting matchup, at least from an offensive standpoint, but I'll take under 8 tonight.
Garrett Crochet in his last start gave up 3 earned against the Astros last Wednesday. It was his first time since the end of April giving up more than 2 earned runs in a single outing. Vecchio, we call you the home run prop king as well. Let's take a look at the leaderboard around the bigs in terms of the most home runs hit this year. Aaron Judge has 28 and is the hefty odds-on favorite to lead the league when all is said and done. Is there anything worth a sprinkle outside of Judge?
As of now, no, but if Ohtani gets to 10-1, that's where I'll be willing to buy in just because of what he does. Mookie would come back healthy at that point, a little more security in the lineup. He'd move to second, just insulating him where Freeman would be behind him, Will Smith, Teoscar Hernandez. So if Ohtani gets to 10-1, that's where I'm jumping in.
He has done a great job in the absence of Shohei, or in the absence of Mookie Betts, continuing things over. Let's also show the card one final time. We broke down the game right before Tom Vecchio was here. He likes the O's on the money line to bounce back from a sweep in Arlington, back at home inside Camden. And the Royals have to be better, Tom. Cole Reagan's over 6.5 strikeouts today for KC. Jack of all trades, we appreciate you. More on the early line up next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack, it's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We keep it going here on the Early Line on this Monday to set up a new week. A 12-game Major League Baseball slate that's nearly full on this Monday to begin. And the Boston Red Sox playing some really good baseball at this moment. The Red Sox now have won 7 of their last 8. They win the weekend series over the Reds. Donnie's American League team looking pretty solid right now as the month of June nears a close. And a pretty hefty favorite today in a divisional duel back in Fenway against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are the opposite of good at this moment. Minus 142 with Tanner Houck on the bump, 8.5. The total for this game at Fenway. Donnie, what do you like?
Yeah, wind blowing out to right field today, which is always a plus there in Boston. But that heat dome that we saw over the weekend that was probably pushing those temperatures at least mid-80s or higher, looks like 69 degrees at first pitch, which is very comfortable. Now, let's take a look at these two pitchers. Houck has been absolutely tremendous this year, but also Chris Bassett hasn't had a bad go of it. A 3.87 xFIP number and a 3.34 ERA over the past 60 days. That's really good. Now, here's the issue. You take a look at some of those non-analytical numbers, like what already happened on the field. ISO power number, weighted on base percentage. 0.35 and 285 for Bassett over his past 128 batters. That is absolutely sensational. Here's the issue, though. You take a look at Dominic Smith, a left-handed batter here over the past 30 days for the Boston Red Sox. He has a 297 weighted on base percentage. Every single batter is at least a 310 or higher versus right-handed pitching over the past month. So if you're just looking at trust, I think the better pitcher overall is on the mound here for the Boston Red Sox, and I think the better overall lineup here is there for the Boston Red Sox. So I'll take that money line. It's not that expensive. I'm going to keep it under a 150 price at this point. I just like Boston in this spot. I think they're better. I think they're at home. I think they'll take care of business.
Tanner Houck has been one of the 5-10 best pitchers in the American League throughout this year. Oftentimes, that money line number then inflated when he gets a start. And the Red Sox have been great. They have won 7 of their last 8. Keep an eye on Boston. If the season were to end today, the Red Sox will be a wild card team in the AL. The top of the American League West, that remains the Seattle Mariners. But this weekend was not good for the M's. They lost the series to the Miami Marlins. The Marlins, the worst team in the National League. Seattle looks to bounce back as they continue their Florida swing in Tampa against the Rays. It's a de facto pick 'em. What's the play?
Yeah, here's where you like to take a look at these splits, Ben. This is why you make a difference. You can take a look at the season as a totality, but then take a look at some of these pitchers, how they're faring at home and how they're faring on the road. When you're in the Trop, it's one of the better pitchers' ballparks in Major League Baseball. But if you look at Taj Bradley, and again, he's home. I just want to bring up his road statistics. An 8.16 ERA, a 5.05 xFIP. That is absolutely disastrous. And that does go into some of those ISO power number weighted on base percentages that you like to take a look at. But Taj Bradley at home, one of the best pitchers in baseball, Ben. 30 innings at home, a 2.10 ERA, and an xFIP, minuscule, at 2.60. So sometimes you just have to take a look at where these guys are pitching, how comfortable they are at home. Now, Seattle also very comfortable typically pitching in pitchers' ballparks, which you're going to find one here as opposed to T-Mobile out there on the West Coast. So for my money in this game, probably looking towards an under, but I just can't pass up how good Taj Bradley's been at home. I'll also take a look there at the Tampa Bay Rays.
7.5 is that total. The Rays, the slight underdog, minus 112 for Seattle, minus 104 on the other side for Tampa. Road favorite as well for the Phils on the road in the Motor City, minus 178. Aaron Nola gets the start today for the Titans. The Tigers throw out Casey Mize on the other side. Should Philly be that strong of a favorite DRS in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, they should win the baseball game, right? So you're saying, well, not if they win, the juice doesn't matter. Well, of course it does. And it's what you want to pick out and bet early in the day. It's like, you know what? Keep that minus 150 or less. It's a little bit harder to deal with that juice over minus 150. But the Phillies are a better ball club overall than Detroit. Having said that, though, you take a look at Aaron Nola. He's had some issues with some of the starts. Last one come up, I think it was absolutely filthy on his last start. But outside of that, he does have some games that creep up with you. But Mize on the mound here for Detroit, he's an okay pitcher at this point. Take a look at his last 30 days. Now, here's the issue. Weighted on base percentage to lefties is quite high. 57 at-bats, that's a 406 weighted on base percentage. We know of two lefties in that lineup that are probably going to do some damage. That's Kyle Schwarber and it's Bryce Harper. The Phillies should be able to win this game, but I don't love the total in this one. I probably look more towards the under. It's 80 degrees in Detroit, which is fine. That is a pitcher's ballpark, Ben, but the wind is blowing slightly in. So if I'm looking at these two matchups, I think I'm going to go under the total in this game, much like we saw yesterday in Philadelphia between them and the Diamondbacks.
Aaron Nola 8-3 this year with a 3.54 ERA, but has given up a total of 11 runs over his last two starts. 8 earned against the Red Sox nearly a week and a half ago. Now we go to St. Louis. The Cardinals sweeping the Giants in that extended weekend series against San Francisco. The Braves victorious in the Bronx. They continue the road trip in the Midwest. Under the arch, Atlanta a road favorite, minus 122, with Spencer Schwellenbach on the bump against the Cardinals. But St. Louis now 2 games above 500. What's the play in the Lou?
Yeah, we're probably going to look at St. Louis in this one today. And if you take a look at Lance Lynn, not a great pitcher, but better at home than he is on the road. Here's the thing. He dominates as a right-handed pitcher, Ben, against right-handed batters. He should have an advantage, but lefties have gotten the best of them. So if you take a look tonight, that's Kelenic, that's Albies, that's Olsen, and that's Forrest Wall. How about that name? So you know we're reaching all the way back in the bag here for Atlanta to try to secure some victories. But I do think Schwellenbach, a younger pitcher on the road, could struggle a little bit. The one thing I do like about St. Louis is they do have a talented lineup. We were just waiting for them because before the season started, I'm looking at this division going, probably St. Louis will be able to win it if they get decent pitching. Mason Wynn has been very good in the top of that lineup. You have a lot of guys tonight with high ISO power numbers versus right-handed pitching. Burleson, Goldschmidt, Gorman, Donovan, Carpenter, and Pages, all of those guys have a legitimate chance to take Schwellenbacher deep tonight. I'm going to go St. Louis at home going up against Atlanta today.
DRS, you would expect the LA Dodgers, one of the best teams in the National League and the favorites to win the NL pennant, to be a very hefty favorite, even on the road in Chicago, against the Big's worst team, and that's the White Sox, only 21 wins. But it's only minus 134 in favor of LA. That's because of Garrett Crochet on the other side for the Southsiders. Can they pull the upset tonight at home?
You know what? I probably forget about the full game. Let's go first 5 innings. Crochet at home this year, Ben. You take a look at this. And by the way, 51 1/3 innings pitched here. He's got a 2.61 ERA and a 1.65 FIP number, which equates to a 1.85 xFIP. And we know one guy who's not great with xFIP numbers, and that's Paxton. First 5 innings here, I'll go with Crochet.
Even pick up in that first 5 money line, minus 112 on both sides. More MLB breakdowns next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR listed zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Rory Mack. It's going to be remembered. It will be a lasting image from the 2024 United States Open, just like Bryson DeChambeau's 55-yard bunker shot.
We love big-time winners. Like, you win a championship, we want to hear from you. You get the stage. Sometimes it's emotional. It's a great watch. We know we also love the losers who said, you know what, I just can't believe I folded down the stretch. Let me face the music here. You sort of get a new light there.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Good weekend for the Texas Rangers. Bad weekend for the Milwaukee Brewers, who return home to Milwaukee on this Monday to host the Rangers. The Rangers victorious in Arlington, 3-game sweep over the Kansas City Royals. The Brewers did win the finale last night in San Diego, but the Brew Crew lost the first 3 games, just avoiding a 4-game weekend sweep. Milwaukee, a pretty hefty home favorite today, though, back in the state of Wisconsin. Will the odds match up when all is said and done?
Yeah, 2 decent XFIP guys on the mound today. We're talking about Michael Lorenzen and also Freddie Peralta. But let's take a look at that Milwaukee lineup going against Lorenzen, who is a right-handed pitcher. Now, get this. He's great against left-handed batters, which is sort of an anomaly, and really bad ISO power number weighted on base percentage-wise against righties here. Here's the only issue. We don't have a great-looking lineup coming into this game from Milwaukee. If you're looking at those right-handed batters, say, you know what, where would be an RBI prop? Jackson Churio in that 9-hole here, a 237 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 381 over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching. And then we take a look at Willy Adames, a 281 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 413. But not a lot to love in that lineup. Let's flip it over to the other side here and take a look at Freddie Peralta, who does have some pretty good numbers at home on the season. That does have an ERA at 4.91. He said, Don, that's not that great. But take a look at his XFIP number, 3.15. That's really good at home. But also, that lineup today, Seager and Smith, great numbers against right-handed pitching over the past month. The rest of that lineup has been abysmal for the Texas Rangers. So forget about even picking a side here. I think it matches up probably for an under in this ball game between Milwaukee and Texas.
I like the look, DRS. No specific starter named yet for one of the final games of the day in San Francisco between the Giants and the Cubs. The Cubbies at home, Sunday Night Baseball, have to make the trip out to the West Coast. They are a road underdog with their starter name. That's Justin Steele. Are your numbers telling you that San Fran has named a starter for tonight?
No, I don't see it up in the numbers so far just yet. But if we're taking a look, because sometimes when Spencer Howard is on the mound, it's almost like they just go, all right, 2 innings, 3 innings, 2 innings, 3 innings between their pitchers here. So I don't think you're even looking at, say, hey, let me zero in, even if it is Howard, because he doesn't go that long. Here's the question here, because Justin Steele, those home and away splits that we love to look at, sure, your home splits aren't going to be as good because you pitch in Wrigley Field, but you want to know how those road splits would be. And take a look at San Francisco, one of the premier pitching ballparks here in the National League, I should say. Steele on the road this year, 28 2/3 innings pitch man, an ERA of 2.51 and an XFIP of 3.21. He should be able to hold those bats down tonight. So maybe the Cubs, who again, talking about holding it, they hold their own bats down at this point. If you can say the Cubs can get the 4 runs, they'll probably win this game tonight.
The Cubs need to. In the last month, on May 20th, Chicago was 5 games above 500, 27 and 22. Things were okay there on the north side of Chi-Town. But since that point, 10 and 19. For the Cubbies. They just lost the weekend at home against the New York Mets. The Giants not playing great ball either. Swept in St. Louis with the first game of the series Thursday night at Rickwood Field in Birmingham. San Francisco, a 5-game skid, returning back home. But I don't mind the plus money with Justin Steele for Chicago tonight. As we look for a best bet on this Monday, there's a Game 7 on the line and at stake with a Stanley Cup hanging in the balance in Sunrise. There's a ton of Major League Baseball, and there's a winner-take-all game number 3 in Omaha for the Men's College World Series. Who gets crowned a national champ tonight? Before we say farewell and before we say goodbye, it is time for Bye, Bye, Bye. Donnie, right side, what is your best bet on this Monday?
Let's go ahead and fade Griffin Canning. Not an aside here, but an RBI prop. And last week, we were hot as all get out throughout the week. Let's continue that new week, new money tonight. I'm going to take a look at Tyler Soderstrom, the first baseman, the left-handed hitting first baseman here for the Oakland Athletics with a 222 ISO and weighted on-base percentage of 366 over his last 65 at-bats against right-handed pitching. Now, he's a lefty. You take a look at Griffin Canning, 255 ISO and a 361 weighted on-base percentage over his last 56 batters from the left side that he faced. And also, those home road splits, he's at home tonight. Take a look at this. A 4.5 ERA and a 5.31 xFIP number. Soderstrom has a legitimate chance to go yard tonight, but he should be able to cash in an RBI to plus 155 price.
I'd say our group best bet is plus 310 for game number 7 of the Stanley Cup final between the Panthers and the Oilers to reach overtime. It would be the first Game 7 OT in Stanley Cup finals history since 1954. And history is on the line tonight in Omaha. You could argue it's the biggest baseball game for both Tennessee and Texas A&M, for both of them. Both looking for their first national championship in program history. And I'd take the under. All hands on deck. Your season on the line tonight. 10.5 the total. We go under at the CWS in Omaha. He is Donnie. I am Ben. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Tuesday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Live right here on the Early Line.